The sky over New York City was never meant to burn with alien fire, but on that fateful morning, it did. It was just another winter day, with the city's usual cacophony of horns and the rush of millions when the sky above turned an ominous shade of red. At first, it was thought to be a spectacular sunrise, but the light lacked warmth. It felt like a silent warning. Dr. Alara Quinn, a historian at Columbia University, was in her office, buried in ancient texts, when the change in light caught her attention. She stepped out onto the balcony, her eyes widening as the reality of the situation dawned on her. The sky wasn't just red. It was alive with shapes, shadows of ships so vast they blotted out the morning. The news channels, which had been broadcasting the usual morning fluff, suddenly cut to live footage of these monstrous vessels, their metallic skins reflecting the eerie light. They were the archivists, a name whispered among the scientific community for years as potential first contact. But no one had anticipated this. Alara's heart raced as she watched, part terror, part awe. She knew from the ancient texts she studied that history was as much about control as it was about truth. She sensed with a historian's intuition that this was not just a visit, it was an invasion of minds. The aliens didn't come with guns or threats, they came with promises of enlightenment. Within hours, broadcasts started. Voices in every language filled the airwaves, speaking of a shared history, one where the archivists had guided human evolution from the shadows. They painted themselves as benefactors, not conquerors. But Alara, with her life dedicated to the truth of the past, saw the lie. As she scoured through her archives, digital and paper alike, she noticed the first signs of alteration. Dates changed, events recontextualized, heroes turned into mere puppets of these celestial visitors. Her heart sank. This was not just misinformation, it was an attempt to rewrite humanity's very identity. The city outside her window was in a state of bewildered calm. People looked up, some in awe, others in fear, but most with a confusing mix of both. She knew she had to act, but how does one fight something so vast and so invisible as the manipulation of truth? Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at her office door. It swung open to reveal Milo, a tech enthusiast known in underground circles for hacking into systems no one thought penetrable. His eyes were wide, not with fear, but with the thrill of a challenge. "Dr. Quinn, you've got to see this," he said, barely containing his excitement as he showed her his tablet. On it was a pattern of signals, a frequency that didn't belong to any known human technology. "I think they're using this to change our records. I think we can hack back." Alara's mind raced. Here was her ally, perhaps, in a battle she hadn't known she'd be fighting. She nodded, her resolve hardening. "We need to find out how far this goes. If they're rewriting history, we need to broadcast the truth." Together they began to delve deeper into the signals, into the digital veins of the city and beyond. The intrigue of what they might uncover, the potential to fight back through the very technology that was being used against them, was intoxicating. But they had to move fast. Every moment history was being unwritten, reshaped into a narrative that would chain humanity to a false past. As they worked, the red light from above seemed to seep into every corner of their reality, a constant reminder of the battle for truth. The city below continued its daily grind, unaware of the silent war for its soul. But for Alara and Milo, the fight had just begun, a fight not just for survival, but for the essence of what it meant to be human. The night had fallen over New York, but the sky remained a haunting shade of red, a constant reminder of the alien presence. Dr. Alara Quinn and Milo, now partners in this clandestine resistance, had set up shop in the basement of Columbia University, a place where the old and new could blend in secrecy. The room was filled with the hum of computers and the scent of old books, a fitting battlefield for their unique fight. Alara was scouring through documents, both digital and physical, her fingers tracing over texts that now seemed foreign. Dates had shifted, key events in human history had new, alien-influenced narratives. The Battle of Thermopylae, once a symbol of human defiance, was now credited to archivist intervention. Columbus's voyage was no longer driven by human curiosity, but by an alien directive. It was subtle, insidious, and terrifyingly effective. Milo, on the other hand, was in his element. His fingers danced over keyboards, hacking into what he believed was the alien network. His screen was a kaleidoscope of codes, data streaming like a digital river. He was looking for anomalies, anything that could give them a foothold in this invisible war. It's like they've woven their lies into the very fabric of our history, Alara murmured, more to herself than to Milo. She paused at a document from the Renaissance, where Leonardo da Vinci's genius was now attributed to alien guidance. Milo glanced over, his face lit by the glow of his screens. "Yeah, and they're doing it live. Look at this," he said, pointing to a pattern in the data. "Every time they broadcast something, there's this spike. I think it's how they're pushing these changes into our systems, our minds." They worked through the night, the urgency pushing them beyond exhaustion. The air was thick with the tension of discovery. And then Milo found something, a frequency, hidden beneath layers of code that didn't match any known protocol. "This isn't just broadcasting. It's a control signal," Milo explained, his voice a mix of excitement and dread. "They're not just altering history, they're altering our perception of it in real time." Alara felt a chill. "We need to expose this, but how do we prove it?" Milo grinned, a plan forming. "We need to intercept one of these signals. If we can catch them changing history live, we can broadcast that proof." The plan was risky, but feasible. They needed to set up a trap. Using Milo's tech wizardry and Alara's historical knowledge, they chose the next big historical event the archivists were likely to alter, the Apollo 11 moon landing, an event that symbolized human achievement and freedom. As dawn broke, casting a soft light against the red sky, they prepared. Milo rigged a makeshift antenna on the roof, aimed at the alien ships, while Alara prepared a counter-narrative, a crash course in real human history. The moment came when the archivists broadcasted, their signal claiming the moon landing was orchestrated by them, a mere spectacle for human pacification. But Milo was ready. He intercepted the signal, replacing it with their own. Suddenly, across New York, screens flickered, and the voice of Dr. Alara Quinn echoed through living rooms, cafes, and public squares. "Listen to me, humanity. What you've been told is a lie crafted by beings who do not believe in your strength, your spirit. Here is the truth about Apollo 11. The broadcast was short, but the impact was immediate. People looked up, not at the sky, but at each other, confusion turning into curiosity, then into anger. But the archivists responded quickly. Drones, sleek and silent, descended from the sky, targeting their makeshift studio. The chase was on. Alara and Milo ran through the university corridors, the drones hot on their heels, their hum a terrifying reminder of the stakes. They barely escaped, diving into the subway system, the drones unable to follow. Panting, hiding in the shadows of the station, they heard the distant explosions as the drones destroyed their equipment. "What now?" Milo asked, his voice a mix of fear and defiance. Alara, catching her breath, looked at him with a fierce determination. "Now, we make sure this isn't the last time they hear the truth. We need to find others like us, build a network. This is just the beginning of our counteroffensive." As they emerged from the subway, the red sky seemed to pulse, a silent declaration of war. But for Alara and Milo, it was also a call to arms, a signal that history, their history, was worth fighting for. The red sky had become a new constant, but beneath it, a different kind of light was forming, one of resistance and hope. Alara and Milo, now fugitives in their own city, had taken refuge in the labyrinthine tunnels of New York's forgotten subway lines. The old graffiti-covered walls whispered stories of past rebellions, fitting for what they were about to start. The meeting was set in what once was an abandoned station, now a clandestine hub for those who had seen through the archivist's deception. As they approached, the low murmur of voices grew louder, echoing through the dim tunnel. The room was lit by makeshift lanterns, casting long shadows over a diverse group of people: historians, tech experts, journalists, and ordinary citizens who felt the wrongness in the air. Alara scanned the faces, each one a beacon of defiance. She noticed an old man, his eyes sharp despite his age, sitting beside a young woman with a laptop, her fingers moving swiftly over the keys. In the corner, a group of teenagers, their expressions a mix of fear and excitement, whispered among themselves. "We're here because we refuse to forget who we are," Alara began, her voice steady in the underground silence. "The archivists want to erase our history, to bind us with chains of misinformation. But history isn't just dates and events, it's our identity, our legacy." Milo, standing beside her, added, "We've got a way to fight back. We intercepted one of their signals, but we need more than just two of us. We need a network." The old man, who introduced himself as Professor James Harkin, once a renowned archaeologist, nodded. "I've seen civilizations rise and fall on the back of their stories. If they control our past, they control our future. I'm with you." The young woman next to him, Sarah, a data analyst, chimed in, "I can help track their broadcasts. We need to understand their pattern, predict their moves." The room buzzed with ideas. An engineer suggested using old radio towers to broadcast their own signals, countering the alien narrative. A librarian spoke of secret archives, untouched by digital corruption, where true history lay dormant. They named themselves the Guardians of History. Each member had a role, from gathering physical remnants of true history to creating secure communication channels. The plan was to hack into the archivists' network, not just to disrupt, but to reclaim and broadcast the truth of human endeavor, resilience, and spirit. But there was another layer of intrigue. Milo revealed his discovery of a neural network the archivists were using, not just for broadcasting misinformation, but to subtly alter human consciousness, making acceptance of their narrative almost subconscious. "We need to expose this," Milo insisted. "If we can show people how they're being manipulated at such a deep level, it might wake them up." The meeting grew tense with the gravity of their task. They decided on a multi-pronged approach. Gather physical evidence. Teams would scour libraries, museums, and private collections for unaltered historical documents. Tech warfare. Milo and Sarah would lead efforts to infiltrate the archivists' digital systems, looking for the control centers of their neural network. Public awareness. A group would work on grassroots campaigns, spreading the truth through whispers, flyers, and small untraceable broadcasts. As they plotted, the sound of a distant drone made everyone freeze. It was a reminder that this was not a game, it was survival. But it also galvanized them. "Security is paramount," Alara emphasized, looking at each face. "We can't let them find us until we're ready to strike back with everything we've got." They dispersed into smaller groups, each with a mission, each with a slice of the larger puzzle. Alara and Milo stayed back, refining their strategy. "Remember, this isn't just about stopping them," Alara said, her voice quiet but fierce. "It's about reclaiming our story, our identity." Milo nodded, his eyes reflecting the flickering light of their makeshift command center. "We'll give humanity back its voice, one truth at a time." As they left the station, stepping into the shadow of the red sky, there was a new energy in their step. The city above slept in ignorance, but below, a revolution was quietly brewing, fueled by the indomitable spirit of those who remembered and those who would fight to preserve human history. Under the relentless red sky, the Guardians of History had morphed from a clandestine meeting into a living, breathing network of resistance. Their plans were set, their resolve hardened. In an old, forgotten library in Brooklyn, now their central hub, the air was thick with anticipation. Maps, old books, and screens filled the space, each telling its part of the coming battle. Alara had been poring over ancient texts, ensuring every piece of history they intended to broadcast was verified. She knew that credibility was their weapon. Beside her, Milo was orchestrating the tech side of their operation. His eyes were glued to multiple screens, watching feeds from their scouts and allies across the city. "We've got one shot at this," Alara murmured, her voice a blend of tension and determination. "One broadcast to wake the world." Milo nodded, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "I've found a weak point in their network. An old satellite, originally for weather monitoring, that they've co-opted. If we can hijack it, we can broadcast globally." The plan was audacious: to use this satellite to send out a signal that would override the archivists' misinformation. But they needed a moment when the alien focus was elsewhere. That moment came sooner than expected. Reports started coming in of an archivist ship landing near Central Park, ostensibly for a cultural exchange event. It was their chance. The aliens would be distracted, their resources focused on maintaining the illusion of peace and cooperation. Milo gave the signal, "Now or never. Let's do this." With a team of tech experts, they ascended to the roof where they had set up their makeshift broadcast station. Antennas pointed skyward, cables snaking back into the library, connecting to their servers. The tension was palpable. One mistake could alert the archivists, ending their operation before it began. Sarah, the data analyst, was monitoring the alien signals, ready to give the go-ahead. "They're all focused on the park. We've got a window." Milo typed furiously, breaking through the satellite's security with a mix of old codes and new tricks. "We're in," he said, his voice barely containing his excitement. "Alara, it's your turn." Alara stood, her heart pounding. She had prepared a speech, a concise yet powerful retelling of human history, from the cave paintings of Lascaux to the moon landings, emphasizing human ingenuity, courage, and the fight for freedom. Her voice was steady as she spoke into the microphone, her words flowing into the digital ether. "People of Earth, what you've been told is a lie. We are not the product of alien benevolence. We are the creators of our own destiny." The broadcast went live, the signal shooting into space, bouncing off the satellite to cascade down over the planet. For a brief, glorious moment, the truth was out there, in every home, on every device, piercing through the veil of deception. But the archivists were quick to react. Alerts blared across Milo's screens. "They've detected the breach. Drones incoming." A swarm of drones descended upon their location, their silent, deadly intent clear. The team scattered, running for cover as the drones targeted their equipment. Explosions rocked the roof, but not before the message was sent. Alara and Milo, with Sarah close behind, ran down the stairs, the sound of destruction following them. They made it back to the library's depths, just as the drones began their systematic destruction of the roof setup. "We did it," Sarah gasped, half in disbelief, half in victory. But now what? Alara looked around at the faces of her comrades, some shell-shocked, others already calculating their next move. "Now, we survive. We keep spreading the truth. We've shown them we can fight back. They'll come for us, but we'll be ready." Milo was already back at his station, fingers moving over the keyboard. "We need to find new ways to communicate, new hideouts. They'll tighten their grip, but we've just loosened it for everyone else." The library, once a quiet place of learning, had become a war room. Plans were made for dispersing into smaller cells, for guerrilla broadcasts, and for safeguarding the physical remnants of their history. The message had gone out, but the battle was far from over. As they prepared to move out, Alara felt a surge of pride. They had struck the first real blow against the archivists, proving that humanity was not just a page in an alien's history book, but authors of their own saga. The red sky outside was a reminder of the battle ahead, but inside, the light of human defiance shone bright. The aftermath of the broadcast left New York in a state of silent revolution. The red sky seemed to glow brighter, as if in defiance of the truth that had momentarily pierced its illusion. In hidden corners of the city, whispers of what had been heard spread like wildfire. Humanity was waking up, one person at a time. Alara, Milo, and the Guardians of History had split into smaller, more elusive groups, moving from one safe house to another, always one step ahead of the archivists' drones. The library had been compromised, but their spirit wasn't. In a basement beneath a nondescript apartment building in Queens, they regrouped. The space was cluttered with maps, old computers, and piles of books, each item a testament to human knowledge and resilience. Milo was busy setting up encrypted communication channels, his face illuminated by the glow of his screens. "We need to keep the momentum going. Every small broadcast, every flyer, every whispered story can turn the tide." Alara was reviewing reports from their allies around the globe. "It's working, Milo. There are uprisings in Paris, Tokyo, and even in small towns. People are remembering, reconnecting with their heritage. The room was filled with a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Sarah, who had escaped the drone attack with minor injuries, was now organizing local resistance groups, teaching them how to spread the word without getting caught. "We've got to hit them where it hurts," she said, her voice firm. "Their control isn't just digital, it's psychological. We need stories, real human stories." Alara agreed. "Let's compile narratives of human bravery, from ancient wars to modern struggles. We'll make it personal. Every person should feel like they're part of this legacy." They started. Tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things were collected. The story of Rosa Parks, the resistance at Stalingrad, the silent protest of the Tiananmen Square tank man, and more recent acts of bravery were woven into their broadcasts. Their first news strike was planned during a major alien broadcast, where the archivists were promoting a new history of human-alien cooperation. Just as the alien voice filled the airwaves, static cut through, replaced by a voice that was undeniably human, speaking of David, a common man from Brooklyn, who stood up against alien enforcers to protect his community's library. This narrative wasn't just history. It was happening now. It was a call to arms, a reminder that history was made by the people, for the people. The archivist's response was swift and harsh. Blackouts in certain districts, increased drone patrols, and even attempts to block the sun with their ships, casting the city into a perpetual dusk. But with each oppressive move, the Guardians found new ways to reach out. Graffiti appeared overnight, depicting human heroes and myths, not as the archivists would have them, but as they truly were. Small, hidden projectors were installed in public places to show clips of human history, unedited and free. The resistance was no longer just about Alara, Milo, or the core team. It had become a movement. People, inspired by these stories, began to contribute in their own ways. A teacher secretly taught real history in her class. A barista slipped flyers into coffee cups. A cab driver played tapes of Alara's broadcasts for his passengers. The red sky was no longer just a sign of alien dominance. It had become a backdrop to human defiance. Each day, the Guardians felt the tide turning. Humanity was remembering not just their past, but their potential. As night fell, Alara looked out at the city, its skyline a silhouette against the alien light. "We're not just fighting for history," she whispered, more to herself than anyone. "We're fighting for our right to tell our own story." And in that moment, under the crimson sky, the human spirit was not just surviving, it was thriving, rallying to the cry of its own past, ready to forge its future. The red hue of the sky had become a constant, a grim reminder of the alien occupation. But beneath this oppressive canopy, a new dawn was breaking for humanity, fueled by the stories of their forebears. The Guardians of History, now a widespread, decentralized movement, were preparing for what they hoped would be a decisive blow against the archivists' control over human narrative. Their target was symbolic and strategic. The digital remnants of the ancient Library of Alexandria, now a sophisticated node in the archivists' misinformation network. This virtual Alexandria had been broadcasting altered histories, shaping human consciousness to accept alien superiority. Alara had discovered through her research that the real Library of Alexandria's legacy was not just in its loss, but in the enduring spirit of knowledge it represented. Now, they aimed to reclaim that legacy by liberating its digital counterpart from alien manipulation. The plan was to infiltrate the servers hosting this virtual library, located in what was once a high-security data center, under the ruins of the original library site in Egypt. The operation required a mix of stealth, tech prowess, and historical knowledge. Milo, along with a team of tech experts from around the world, had spent weeks mapping out the security systems, both alien and human. "We've got one shot at this," Milo said, his eyes scanning the complex schematics. "We go in, hack the system, and broadcast the truth from the very place they thought was their stronghold." A small, elite group was assembled for the mission, including Alara, Milo, Sarah, and a few others with unique skills. They gathered in Cairo, under the watchful eyes of both the Sphinx and the alien ships hovering ominously above. Disguised as part of an archaeological team, they approached the site. The ruins of the old library served as the perfect cover. The archivists, perhaps underestimating human tenacity, had not fortified the physical site as much as the digital one. Under the cover of night, they descended into the ancient catacombs, now linked to modern tech through hidden installations. The air was thick with history and the tension of their mission. They moved silently, past the ancient stones and into the modern world beneath. The data center was a maze of servers and security protocols. Milo led the team, his hands moving with precision over his devices, bypassing security. "We're in," he whispered, a hint of triumph in his voice as they entered the control room. Alara, with her deep understanding of history, began the process of undoing the damage. She accessed the archives, her fingers flying over the keyboard, restoring dates, events, and narratives. "We're rewriting the rewrite," she said, her voice filled with determination. But their intrusion didn't go unnoticed. Alarms blared, and the room's lights shifted to an aggressive red. Drones, small and swift, began to descend from hidden compartments above, their purpose clear: to eliminate the threat. Chaos erupted. Sarah, quick on her feet, managed to hack into the drone control, turning a few against their masters. "Buy us time," she shouted, as the room became a battlefield of tech and human ingenuity versus alien design. Milo uploaded a virus designed to spread through the archivist's network, not just to disrupt but to reveal the truth. It was a digital declaration of independence, a message that would echo across the globe. Humanity's story is ours to tell. The battle was fierce. Servers sparked, drones crashed, and amidst it all, Alara kept feeding the system with true history. She spoke into a microphone, her voice broadcasting over the alien network. "This is not just our past. This is our declaration of self. We are humans, with our history, our victories, our losses, all ours." As the virus took hold, the screens around them flickered, showing scenes of human achievement, resilience, and creativity. It was a moment of poetic justice, broadcasting from the symbolic heart of human knowledge, reclaiming it. The team barely escaped, the building collapsing under the weight of the alien response. They emerged into the night, the red sky above now lit with the fires of their defiance. Back in Cairo, they watched as the effects of their actions spread. The archivists were scrambling, their network faltering, the truth breaking through like sunlight through clouds. People everywhere were waking up, talking, questioning, and most importantly, remembering. "We've given them a weapon," Alara said, watching the dawn break, the red slowly giving way to a hopeful blue. "Now they'll fight for their story, their way." The Siege of Alexandria had not just been a physical or digital battle. It was a cultural one, rekindling the flame of human identity. The Guardians knew this was just one battle in a long war, but for now, they had reclaimed a piece of their soul, and with it, the strength to fight on. The success at Alexandria had sent ripples across the globe. Humanity, once shackled by an alien-crafted history, now tasted the sweet air of truth. But the archivists were not defeated. They were merely enraged, their control slipping through their fingers like sand. In the aftermath, Alara, Milo, and the core team of the Guardians of History regrouped in a hidden bunker beneath Berlin, a city with a history of resilience against oppression. Here, they planned their next move amidst the hum of machinery and the echo of history's lessons. The archivists had begun to fortify their remaining networks, making direct hacking attempts more dangerous. However, the truth's momentum was unstoppable. People were not just listening, they were acting. Protests, small and large, were sprouting everywhere, fueled by the stories of human perseverance and the realization of alien deceit. "We need something bigger," Milo said, his eyes reflecting the screen's light, showing images of resistance from around the world. "We need to hit them where they can't recover easily." Alara agreed, her mind racing. "We need to show the world not just our history, but how they've manipulated it in real time. We need to expose their neural network." The plan was audacious: to infiltrate one of the main archivist ships, believed to house the central node of their mind control technology. This would require more than just tech savvy. It needed someone on the inside. Enter Lena, a former engineer who had worked on the construction of these ships before the alien takeover. Her knowledge of their layout and systems was unparalleled. She had been part of the resistance in secret, waiting for the right moment. "I can get us in," Lena stated, her voice steady but her eyes betraying the gravity of the mission. But once inside, it's a race against time. Their strategy was to board during a scheduled maintenance period when the ship's defenses would be minimally active. As the ship descended for repairs in the Sahara, where the desert provided cover, the team prepared. The infiltration was tense, moving through the ship's corridors under the guise of maintenance workers. The alien architecture was both beautiful and unsettling, with its organic, flowing shapes and an eerie silence that seemed to watch them. Lena led them to the core, a vast chamber where the neural network's heart pulsed with alien light. Milo worked swiftly, connecting his device to the alien system, his fingers a blur over the interface. "Here it is," he whispered, awe and terror mingling in his voice. They've been broadcasting not just information, but altering human thought patterns. Ilara, watching the data stream, felt a chill. "We need to show this to everyone. Let them see how they've been controlled." They uploaded a program Milo had designed to reverse engineer the neural manipulation, broadcasting the evidence of how the archivists had tried to control human minds. Simultaneously, they initiated a global broadcast, showing live feeds of their discovery, the alien tech, and the truth of human autonomy. The ship's defenses awoke, drones swarming towards them. The team had prepared for this. Sarah triggered a pre-planned EMP pulse, designed to temporarily disable the drones, giving them precious moments. But escape was fraught. As they ran, the ship's alarms blaring, Ilara spoke into a makeshift microphone, her voice echoing through the ship and broadcasting to the world. "This is what they've done to us, but we are not their puppets. We are free. Remember this moment. Remember who we are." They made it to an escape shuttle, the ship's systems recovering just as they launched. The shuttle plummeted towards the desert, shields barely holding against the pursuing drones. Landing was rough, but they survived, emerging into the night, the stars above clearer than they had been in months, the red sky momentarily absent. Back in the bunker, the team watched as their message spread. Humanity was not just waking up, it was rallying. The neural network's exposure had broken the last chains of doubt. People in cities, villages, and isolated corners were standing up, their voices a chorus against the alien sky. "We've given them back their minds," Ilara said, a small, fierce smile on her lips. "Now they'll fight not just for their history, but for their future." The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were reclaiming, ready to write the next chapter of their saga on their terms. Revelation of the neural network had ignited a fire across the globe. Humanity, once passive under the red sky, was now a force awakened, united by the shared understanding of their manipulation and the undeniable thirst for freedom. The Guardians of History had become the heart of a worldwide movement, but the final chapter was yet to be written. The archivists, sensing their control slipping, launched a desperate counterattack. Alien ships descended en masse over major cities, their presence no longer a mere symbol but a direct threat. Yet the human spirit, now fully awakened, met this challenge with resilience and innovation. Ilara, Milo, and their team had relocated to a secret facility in the Rocky Mountains, a fortress of human ingenuity where scientists, historians, and warriors of information warfare gathered. Here they planned the endgame. "We need to hit them everywhere at once," Milo proposed, his strategy clear. "Overwhelm their systems, their ships, their narrative. We turn their network against them." Ilara, looking over the gathered faces, felt a surge of pride. "We've shown them who we are. Now let's show them what we can do." The plan was multifaceted, utilizing every piece of technology, every story, every human life that had been touched by this struggle. Cyber attacks were coordinated to disrupt alien communications. Meanwhile, ground teams prepared to engage where necessary, not with guns, but with knowledge and truth. The day of reckoning came with a dawn that painted the sky in shades of defiance, rather than submission. From New York to Tokyo, from Sydney to Johannesburg, humans took to the streets, rooftops, and digital spaces. They spoke, sang, and broadcast tales of human achievement, resilience, and the undeniable right to self-determination. Milo, with his team, executed the digital strike. They unleashed a virus that had been in development since the Siege of Alexandria, one designed to infiltrate and corrupt the archivists' control systems, turning their own technology into a beacon of human history. Simultaneously, Alara led a global narrative assault. Every screen, every speaker played stories of human bravery, not just from history but from the current resistance. The voices of ordinary people, now heroes, resonated across the world, drowning out the alien propaganda. The archivists responded with force, their ships attempting to block out the sun, casting the world into darkness. But this only fueled human resolve. In every city, people lit fires, held up mirrors to reflect light, and used every means to fight back the night. The battle was not just physical, it was ideological. In the mountains, Alara watched feeds from around the world, her heart swelling with every act of defiance. Milo's virus was working. Alien ships began to falter, their lights flickering, their control over human minds slipping away. "They're retreating," came the report from one of the tech teams, the surprise in their voice palpable. The archivists, seeing the futility of their conquest, started to pull back, their ships ascending, leaving behind a sky that slowly, painstakingly returned to blue. The victory was not just in the retreat, but in what humanity had reclaimed, their identity, their history, and their future. Celebrations erupted, but there was no time for complacency. The Guardians knew this was but one battle in a long war of ensuring such an invasion of mind and spirit would never succeed again. As the sun set, casting the world in its true light, Alara stood outside, feeling the warmth of a liberated sky. "We've shown them," she murmured, "that our history, our stories, our very essence, they are ours to guard, to share, to celebrate." Milo joined her, looking out over the world they had helped save. "And now we write our future," he added, his voice filled with hope. The red sky was gone, but the lessons, the unity, and the spirit of resistance remained. Humanity had not just survived, they had thrived, proving that the true power of a species lies not in technology or might, but in the stories they tell, the truths they uphold, and the collective will to be free.